That rings a bell for some of you. I've worked for Franklin Covey for 8 years, partnering with schools in several states, including Colorado, to help them achieve their highest priorities. I'm very passionate about helping schools and helping children excel. I truly believe there's more to a child's worth than a test score, and I know you guys do as well, but there's a big focus on test scores and education. And I think there's also a gap between the test scores and what's being left behind because of that. And the leader in me that I'll highlight tries to fill that gap. So I do want to tell you thank you for attending tonight. I think it really shows great things about having the parent community here to help make decisions about Lopez moving forward. So thank you for taking the evening out to do this. Along with my mention about preparing students for more than a test score is a quote from Muriel Summers, the principal of A.B. Combs, that you'll hear a little bit more about later. And she says our goal is not to help children do well in school, but to help them do well out of school. And I use that quote with parents because I think they all relate it. Everybody here wants a lot more for their child than just their education. They want them to have a great foundation and success in life. Nowadays, there's a big challenge in education, several big challenges. Anthony, should I just ask you to share your challenges? Just kidding.
Where do I start?
The first one that anybody and everybody, it doesn't matter if you live under a rock, knows about is strained resources, right? Doing more with less. What about the challenge of educators to prepare children for a future that they don't even know what that future looks like because it changes so fast that they don't even know how to prepare them for it? Think back 15 or 20 years ago when, and the differences in just global economy. And I keep joking that I was put in this room because I talk about technology and the changes in technology. And this wasn't around when I was in school. So preparing children for things that don't exist yet is a challenge educators face. Because I figured out in every prior session that we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to choose to skip a video that I show, but I'll give you a synopsis because it is 5 minutes. I show a video called Shift Happens. Has anybody seen it? Yay! Okay.
Did we see it over?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The one they showed was the second, so that was based on Shift Happens, but it was, it's like Shift Happens 2.
2.0.
Okay. So similar, right?
Yeah.
I don't know
It's the same
exactly
shift.
which one that is, but I think some of the statistics that really stand out to me is like there's more honor students in India than all of students in the US. China will be the #1 English-speaking country. So the point in showing the video, I'm not sure what their point was, maybe very similar. But the point in showing the video is to identify that there is a huge need to teach children foundational principles and life skills to prepare them for that future, because without that, it's probably going to be a little bit harder for them to face things they don't even know about right now. Was that group the 21st century group? Okay, that makes sense, because I talked a little bit about 21st century here too, because the leader in me aligns a lot with trying to help kids with the 21st century. So I will just go ahead and skip right through that. Let me give you a tiny bit of background to kind of give you a bigger vision. The leader in me first ever began, I guess, in one school in 1999 at A.B. Combs in Raleigh, North Carolina. And some pieces of their story in 1999 are similar to where Lopez is at today. And I don't mean that in a bad way, like Lopez is behind. It's just some same challenges. A.B. Combs was a magnet school. They had really low student enrollment, low achievement. They didn't have a direction or a focus, really even a purpose. And because of that, teachers weren't happy and weren't inspired, which led to the parents and the community as a whole not being either. Muriel Summers, that you saw the quote from a minute ago, was called into the superintendent's office, which, as she jokes, is probably never a good thing, and told you have 1 week to come up with a way to improve your school, or you will lose your magnet status. And down the line, may face school closure. Muriel went out into the community. Muriel went to her stakeholders to ask them, what do you want from A.B. Combs? Who are her stakeholders? Staff, of course. She has students, parents, business leaders. What do you want A.B. Combs to be? We've got to transform A.B. Combs. What should that look like? So if Muriel was here today and asked you, what do you want from Lopez Elementary? What are some things that come to mind? You're all here for your children. What do you want out of Lopez Elementary for your children?
I mean, I think there's a lot of things. We want to, in this change, we want to maintain our current culture. We want to maintain the things that we do well. At the same time, we want to make sure that we're not falling behind. We want to make sure our kids, have the tools and education necessary to be more resourceful. When I see my kid move forward, I want to make sure that he's able to understand challenges and like you said, we don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but the more resourceful you are, it seems the easier it's going to be to face challenges.
What else comes to mind?
We'd probably have more feedback for you if many of us didn't feel as if we were already doing the right things, and I guess.
And what are those right things? Go ahead, shout what those are. Because I'm not trying to point out that Lopez is doing anything wrong. I'm just trying to point out what you want for your child.
I like the incorporation of critical thinking skills. I think that there's not nearly enough training on that, but some of that's left to us as parents.
Goes back to resourcefulness, right? Goes into that. Anything else?
I definitely like our community involvement and how we partner with people outside of the school to make not just our school better, but our community better.
Here is what some of, I'm writing your way on it. Here is what some of the answers were that Muriel heard. She wanted, the parents in the greater community wanted their child to be taught things like teamwork, conflict management, even down to fun, a desire to learn, which actually I've heard several times tonight. I think some of these things, planning, goal setting, analytical skills, line up with what you're already saying. Here's my slide that probably relates a little bit to next door too. How these tie right into 21st century skills. Now, a piece of A.B. Combs that I haven't got into yet is at the time, Muriel was a fan in her personal life of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and started thinking, how can I take this down to the level of my students? Why do they have to wait until they're adults to use these principles? At the time, Franklin Covey was working with Fortune 500 companies, all branches of the military, heads of state, and we had yet to work with children on principles. So imagine, if you would, if your child at any age had a mission and had a direction that they were working towards. That's what Muriel saw in her line of sight. If you went home tonight and asked your child or asked your children, do you see yourself as a leader? What would they say? Would they say yes? Would they say no? Would they say, well, what do you mean? I asked lots and lots of schools this that I work with. How many of your students would see themselves as leaders? And although I would love to see it as 100%, most schools are 50% or below, and I've shared the story, a large school district in this country that I was meeting with in July, one of the principals told me 7 to 9%. They also have a very, very high dropout rate. in their community and their school district. Now, if I asked your principal, how many of your staff members see themselves as leaders? Would that percentage be pretty high? I hope so. But that ties back into, what if your child could without a doubt say yes, because I know what I'm good at, I know what my focus is, and I have a mission to accomplish it. That is behind the Leader in Me and the foundation that Muriel saw that she wanted to develop in children to help them, not just with school, but outside of school. Muriel decided to make her school a leadership magnet school. Again, this started in 1999, before Franklin Covey was formally working with schools, so she did a lot of this on her own with grassroots. And it wasn't just 7 Habits. She used 7 Habits as a foundational piece. She calls it the concrete of her building of her school. She used many different facets of great pieces to education to help make them successful. In 2006, A.B. Combs was named Magnet School of the Year. And here's a slide of trends that they see and that we see in every school we work with the Leader in Me. Student self-confidence goes up. So does their achievement. Delighted parents. Increase in teacher and administrator job satisfaction. And the one thing that goes down that probably every school would like to see go down a little bit is reduced discipline and behavioral referrals. Let me just catch up. So what do I mean when I talk about bringing leadership to your children? I don't mean leadership as a positional. I mean leadership as a choice, as almost a behavior, as an activity in the way they lead themselves with you, with others, with school. So one thing that we refer to a lot is the Leader in Me is not about turning every child into a CEO. It's about unleashing the talent within every child, or the leader, by finding children's unique talents and gifts and helping them along the process of growing up by doing that as they face many different obstacles. Dr. Covey says leadership is communicating people's worth and potential so clearly that they are inspired to see it in themselves. And I think that goes right back to helping children see their unique talents and gifts. So how is this done? I'm going to be really brief on how this is done, and then if you'd like me to dive deeper during Q&A, I would be more than happy to. First of all, there's a paradigm that shifts, changes, maybe not, maybe the paradigm's already there, that at this school, every child can be a leader. The 7 Habits are used as a foundational piece to create some modeling behavior, to create a common language, to help breach together some systems, some different areas of the school. And most importantly, we use what we refer to as a ubiquitous approach. It's everywhere, all the time. It's not one more thing to the plate of the school, it is the plate of the school, back to that foundational piece. So back to, it's not curriculum, it's not an activity guide I hand you, it's verbiage, it's language, it's action, it's what the kids see. So based on that ubiquitous approach, Franklin Covey works with schools to help them bring leadership into 6 key areas that we find covers about everything. And it does begin with modeling. Back to the children learn a lot more by what they see. And when staff and parents are modeling behaviors in line with what they're trying to teach students and language and so forth, those kids catch on so quick. So we work with communities and teachers and staff, administrators first to give them a foundation of where this is going. I'm not going to go through all of these because of time, but I'll go over really quickly environment, because I find environment to be an important component of leadership. And that means when your children walk into the school, what do they see? Bringing culture into that, what do they feel? What's surrounding them all day, every day? Is it themes of leadership, which could look like quotes? It could be job functions. A lot of schools have leadership jobs for students in their school. It could